Whose interests does it serve when we close the borders? Well, it doesn't stop the drug trade. Let's be very clear about that. The majority of the drug trade doesn't come from new immigrants or refugees. It tends to come over the traditional routes, over through shipping systems, through by plane, things that aren't really caught by our immigration system. And there's plenty of evidence for that. But even if it did, who does it serve? Does it help protect our country from undesirable people or criminals? Well, here's the thing that we do know. We do know that closing the borders strongly helps our fascist enemies or our fascist competitors. Countries like Russia, like China, like North Korea, and maybe increasingly the United States, don't want their citizens to leave, because as they take away their social systems, as they take away their freedoms, the concern is that if people leave, they'll be left without a workforce. So they don't want people to leave, and that's why there's strong rules and strong difficulties in getting out of those countries. And what happens when a fascist country or a country that lacks civil rights it can't prevent people from leaving? What happens when people try to escape? Well, they're going to escape by any means they can. They're going to grab onto airplanes, they're going to get on boats, on rafts, and they may even smuggle themselves over to escape those regimes. And when we send them back, when we close the gates and say, no, you got to go back, then those countries win. That's what they wanted. Russia, China, other countries that have strong anti-immigration laws win when we send them back. So that is how we can help those fascist countries, is by closing the borders. It also hurts you. If you don't like your job, if you don't like where you're living, or if we get a communist or a fascist takeover, something you don't like, how are you supposed to move to other countries when they close their borders too? When we join in on the momentum and close our borders, they will close their borders too, and now it gets harder for you. You become trapped in our country. So the problem with closing the borders is it actually helps fascism. It actually helps prevent people from having freedom. Does it increase jobs, though? Does it give jobs to Canadians? Well, no. We know that immigrants tend to create more jobs and actually use fewer services. That's what most of the statistics tell us. But even if that weren't the case, the best way to create new jobs isn't to stop people from coming in, is to stimulate the economy. That might involve immigration, but it might involve things like funding new types of research, new factories, funding for green jobs, funding for new initiatives in technology. Creating jobs in this country is what will bring people in, not keeping people out, which doesn't logically lead to that, but it does help those who want to control their populations. So